Hello, everyone. Welcome to On the Table. I am Corie, and I'm here with Rachel. And today we are discussing Halloween.
Yes.
October 31st.
Technically, that's today.
Yes,
So
it is.
today is Halloween. So let's talk about
Halloween from a Christian perspective.
whether or not we're allowed to celebrate it, where it comes from, all those details. Now, I think for me, okay, I love autumn. I love fall. I love
too,
everything about this
yes.
season. And I think there's a lot of people who share that sentiment. But then as soon as we get to the 31st, we hide.
Christians don't know what to do.
Yeah,
because it's controversial.
Yeah, we either hide in our basements with the lights out, or we participate.
We participate. As some people half-seas. Some people like
Half-seas.
do harvest parties
Yep.
for the kids, or
Yep.
sometimes there's like family festivals
Yeah,
and things like that you
there's
can
a lot
go
of
to.
school things too, and they're trying to make.
Yeah.
I think some schools are trying to make them more like black and orange day, less Halloween, like trying to make everyone
Less
happy.
costume, more.
Because Halloween's not something that's actually celebrated globally.
Right.
It's celebrated only in
That's true.
specific countries, mostly here in the West, Canada and U.S. It's huge. It's growing in Europe, but it's not what it is like today. What we celebrate as Halloween is different historically, and it's an old holiday, and it's changed over time. But most cultures celebrate a version of the Day of the Dead, which
Yep.
is a little bit different than what Halloween is, but they have some similarities in overlap. So let's talk a little bit about the origins of Halloween.
Sure.
I did a little
Let's.
research to finally understand what I should be doing or what I should not be doing about Halloween. So Halloween comes from originally All Saints Day, the All Saints Day
Right.
celebration, which is a remembrance of martyrs. And
In the Christian church.
in the
yeah.
Christian church.
Yeah.
So All Hallows Eve was the evening before All Saints Day, and it began a time of remembrance. So
Right.
that night before, and eventually All Hallows Eve became Halloween. But so as Christianity moved through Europe, it would collide with pagan cultures and customs, and those kind of became stumbling blocks, as you can imagine that just happens when you clash two cultures together. And one of the cultures that they ran into, one of the pagan festivals, was Samhain, and it celebrated the final harvest, death, and onset of winter, which was from October 31st to November 2nd, so 3 days. And the Celtic countries, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, they celebrated this. So the Celts believed that there was a curtain that divided the living and the dead, and it lifted during this festival, and spirits were able to roam around.
Right.
Now, a lot of the traditions that we have for today's Halloween come from there. So trick-or-treating, that stemmed originally from that. There were costumes that they wore to ward off spirits, evil spirits. That's where wearing costumes comes from. And even jack-o'-lanterns.
Right.
That's where those traditions...
gourds and everything
Yeah, the gourds.
originally.
That's where they started. They don't look like what they do today, but that's where those ideas started. So because Christians were tempted to rejoin in pagan festivals, Pope Gregory IV moved All Saints' Day in the 9th century to the middle of this festival.
Right.
So the 31st. But now, because of immigration to America, and thank you to Hollywood for a little bit of flair with vampires and zombies, we now have Halloween, which is very commercialized.
It's totally different.
And it's more of considered a secular holiday. Christians,
It is.
we don't celebrate Halloween or
It's
All
not
Hallows
a
Eve.
holy day.
It's not a holy day.
No, it's
Now,
not a
it
holiday.
It is for Catholics. If you're Catholic,
Right.
it's still
They
a holy
have
day. And
All
then
Saints' Day.
and then they also have All Souls Day, which is November 2nd.
Right.
But that's a little bit different. It's different as a holiday. They
Right.
celebrate it differently. But today we don't even really remember the martyrs
No.
in this, like it's completely a different festival today. So, but that's where it came from.
Right.
So I can understand how some people would be put off by celebrating by costumes and collecting candy and that kind of thing because of where it came from. Those were from a pagan festival originally. But today we're not even celebrating that pagan festival. Now we're just celebrating Halloween as its own thing. It's kind of its own different thing now.
And so many people take it so many different ways. I mean, there's a lot of people who celebrate it in a really uncomfortable way. For me, where it is a celebration of death. Really,
Yes.
I mean, if you've driven around at all the night before Halloween or Halloween night, and you see houses set up with gallows and skeletons, and even like I've seen fake car accidents.
Yep.
That to me, that's not funny.
With fake bodies pinned under vehicles.
Yeah,
And stuff.
like
no,
that to me, I'm
not,
like, that really happens. That's a terrible thing to kind of make light of
Display.
and display and want to do that. That makes me really
puts me off.
uncomfortable.
I'm not a fan of most Halloween decorations in that way. Like I don't like, and this is one of the things that just it's my pet peeve. I don't like seeing things that are meant to be on the inside of the body outside of the body. Unless you're in an operating room, you should not be looking at organs and skeletons. Like I don't even understand it for tattoos. Like why people tattoo skulls on their that is beyond me. I'm just if it's in the body, it should stay in the body. But that's just me.
As a historian, I am partial to skeletons. I like skeletons and mummies, but real ones, not
pretend
like,
plastic ones from Walmart that chase you around. Maybe.
Yeah. But then there's other aspects of Halloween that are much more childish and silly, like the pumpkins and the
decorating pumpkins,
in things like that.
Candy.
Candy.
Who wants to say no to candy?
That to me, it's on two totally different levels, and I know a lot of people would disagree with me, but for me, it's totally different. Where you have kids decorating pumpkins and getting candy and dressing up like the Flintstones and things like that.
Superheroes.
And then you have other people taking it to the extreme where they're going to crazy parties and they're celebrating death and they have gallows in their house and that kind of stuff. Or playing with Ouija boards or experimenting with Wicca. So it can go either way. It really can go either way with how people celebrate it.
Yeah, and we do really celebrate it. Like Halloween today is a $1 billion industry.
There is
a lot of money to be made for this one night where we go and we just dress up. And I mean, it's not really surprising if everyone's buying a costume and it's a lot of candy.
Yes.
To feed your neighborhood with that many kids coming for candy. They're taking it by the fistful now. It's just so it's one of those. But it's a lot of money that gets poured into this.
And for kids, that is so fun being able to dress up in an outfit, go to school, have your picture taken, go knock on your neighbor's door and get a little chocolate bar
and show off your costume. And I mean, even now as an adult, I love dressing up in costumes. Like I love costumes and candy.
Costume parties are very fun.
I have no problem with dressing up at all. And it's funny because it's one of the things that my husband and I are very different with. When it comes to Halloween, I get excited about costumes. And he's just like, can we pretend?
Excited about costumes any time of the year. If someone has a costume party, I am there.
But nobody does. And that's the thing. It's like Halloween is my excuse because nobody is going to throw a costume party. So if you ever throw a costume party, I would love to come because I love dressing up. That's just one of my my things. But so there are 4 responses, and we did touch on them a little bit. There's the no participation.
Yes.
There's harvest parties or alternative parties to Halloween where you're not going trick-or-treating door to door. You could just participate.
Yeah.
And then there's something that are usually called hell houses, where which are churches do this sometimes, where they'll show different acts of sin or that kind of thing, scary versions of sin, and kind of scare people into, I guess, coming to faith. I guess it just
seems like for me it seems like a cheap replacement for a haunted house.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it just seems like. You're trying to make a grown-up version of Halloween, like a grown-up version of a harvest party,
like Christianese.
But I mean, if you're good, just have a harvest party then. I don't know. That's a personal opinion for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, do we have to show people sin? Don't people already know what sin is? Isn't it kind of self-explanatory?
If you're trying to shock a culture that is exposed to these sins as normal, it's not going to shock them anymore.
Right.
It's not really. And that's the thing is our culture has become very used to seeing horror films.
Yeah, that's
has been
true.
used to, or just like just terrorizing things. We're used to it in reality, and we're used to it in our fiction and our entertainment.
Right.
So it's really hard to scare people when they're watching some of these weird demonic movies where like people get possessed and chase you around the house and try to murder you. There's every Halloween new movies like this come out, and people watch them. It's not like, I mean, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where if you're used to that, you can't scare someone who's used to that with depicting sin anymore. So it's kind of, in my mind, it's useless. You're not going to scare people away from that. It's not, I feel like that is one example of where it's not worth it. It doesn't make sense.
It just seems kind of more like an excuse to try to do something fun for the older kids, or maybe like teenagers or young adults or something. But
then why not just do a harvest party, which is just
or a festival, or
it's just
maybe it could be done well. Like, I've never been to one. I've never heard of one. This is my first time even really hearing.
I've never been to one either.
So maybe there's something deeper that we're missing. maybe.
I don't know. But harvest parties and participation and no participation. I've actually done, if I'm being honest, I've done all of them. In different times in my life, I have either not participated at all, participated fully, or done both. There was one year I did both. I went trick-or-treating, then I went to the harvest party because I wanted to maximize candy. Nice. Right? As a kid, I got strategic. Yes. We went around the subdivisions that were where the church was.
Smart.
And then we went and played all the games in the church when it got too dark, right?
That is industrious of you, I must say.
You bring a pillowcase and you fill it, and then you go get another one when it's full.
Well, like, as a kid, you don't really care about the history of it. You don't care about that. You're just in it for candy. You're not trying to celebrate death.
You want candy. Yeah. That's it.
And I think, as parents, you have to make a judgment call based on your family. You really have to pray about it, make a judgment call.
Yeah.
But I would feel very uncomfortable condemning someone who let their kids go trick-or-treating or saying, no, you shouldn't go to that harvest party. You should hide out in your basement or no.
And if you decide you're not going to participate, there are people, and I know people who have very strong convictions that Halloween is evil. And I don't agree that the day is evil. There's no indication in scripture that there's a particular day of the year or a few days where all of a sudden the dead can return to earth and walk around.
Or Satan is more powerful.
Like, no. That's not true. So
even if it was, God is stronger than that.
Yeah. But it's not one of those things that's true. Mm-hmm. And so I think we shouldn't act like it's true. We shouldn't live in fear and hiding from this day.
Right.
In that respect. But if you don't want to participate, that's completely fine. That's totally up to you.
Because there is something to be said for people who, they go back and they look at the Old Testament in particular and they say, that Israel was called an adulteress when she began to mix pagan practices with Christian practices.
Yep.
Yeah, she was.
Yep.
She totally, Israel totally was.
There's something to be said there.
Yes.
But you then, and especially if you're a parent and you have kids who want to participate, I think you have to prepare them for that. You need to be able to provide them an alternative, do a family night, do something different.
Go to a harvest party. That's why churches have harvest parties.
Yeah, because
or festivals.
It's hard to be the odd kid out that doesn't get to celebrate.
Yes.
Like, what kid is going to like the idea of not dressing up and getting candy?
Yeah.
And even if your kid doesn't want to dress up, they just want candy, they're still going to want candy. Like, that's just a normal child thing. So you have to kind of prepare them for, okay, this makes us different, it sets us apart, so you have to prepare them for the ridicule and the teasing that probably will follow.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
And jealousy that they might feel the next day when all their friends bring their Halloween candy in their lunches.
For the next 2 months till Christmas comes and they get more candy, because you can get a lot.
Yeah, but this is also why it's so important that I'm just going to do a plug here for church volunteers. It's so important for us to volunteer with our churches, especially as parents, getting your family involved. And I mean, I know it's really difficult because you're busy, you work, you have kids, your kids go to school, they have activities and everything like that. But, if this is something that you're really concerned about, then put your money where your mouth is. Go to whoever's organizing a harvest party or some sort of festival in your area with a local church and get involved, volunteer, make it fun for your kids and try to find that balance of, okay, we're going to go and we're going to make this happen and it's going to be awesome so that your kids don't feel like they're missing out and don't have to go the next 3 months wishing that you just let them dress up and do something.
And then on the flip side, you could just participate. You could just participate. So it's one of those things where it's totally up to you as a as a believer. And I think the week before Halloween and usually Halloween day, I used to see a lot of posts on Facebook on, why you should celebrate Halloween, why it's okay if you're a Christian, and then on the flip side, why it's not okay if you're a Christian. There's always people posting articles, and there's nothing wrong with posting articles. I've done it. I'm a big fan of posting articles because I like reading articles. But it's important to just keep in mind that it's one of those things where it's based on your convictions. It's not a salvation issue. If you celebrate or if you don't, does not change where you're going in eternity.
And we should be able to agree to disagree with other people. We really should.
That's really important with non-salvation issues or something like a holiday like this.
We have to be able to keep the unity of the church and keep our friendships as Christians, because if we're not keeping that unity, we're doing a very poor job of modeling Christ. And I know a lot of people would argue, well, if you celebrate Halloween, you're doing a very poor job of modeling Christ. Okay, well, that might be true, but it's more important. It's less important for you to be right and more important for there to be unity in the church. So you can absolutely disagree with someone, but you also have to have grace with those people, and those people have to have grace with you because they obviously disagree with you. So, but if they're not having grace, be the bigger person, make it start with you.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's got to start somewhere, so start with you.
Pep talk, guys. Try not to be super brutal with each other.
And I think there is something to be said. There are people who maybe have come to Christ from a past where they did celebrate, where they were Wiccan or any sort of other faith, occult type of faith, where they participated and did things. They celebrated death more, or that kind of thing. And I think if you come from that history, that background, for you, you're right. It probably would be better to stay out of it. Absolutely. Like if that's your history, for sure, that's how you would honor God and continue your life changed as a new believer. But for people who all they're doing is dressing up with their kids, picking up candy from their neighbors in their neighborhood and going home, or going to a harvest party, I think it'd be really difficult to condemn that in a loving way.
Yeah, especially if they're teaching their children as well. I mean, if you're a parent, you know what your children can handle as they grow up. But it is our responsibility, no matter what option that we choose, participation, full participation, no participation, harvest party, anything like that. Whatever you do, it's so important to begin to teach our children as they age and as they go through experiences in life, what's okay and what's not. It's not okay to mess with the occult. It's not okay.
That's right.
This day is not, a day where there's more demons or more spirits roaming throughout the earth.
And
we're not celebrating death. Yeah. Teaching them the right things instead of being afraid of the wrong things, or instead of just not talking about it at all. That's not right either, because it could become a gateway. Almost anything could become a gateway.
I think so.
But it could become a gateway to the occult if you're not careful. I have heard that argument before as well. So it is about teaching your children and leading them in an appropriate way.
That's just responsible parenting.
As
parents, it is your job to teach your children about things that can harm them. And that goes for anything that can harm them. So
absolutely. Yeah. Well, you know what? No matter what you do tonight, whether you're eating Halloween candy, whether you're eating candy from your church, or whether you're curling up and watching a movie, I hope you have a good October 31st. And I hope that you've had a good time with us on the table. I hope you join us next time.